take a walk with me. Let's pretend we're just two people and you're not better than me. I'd like to ask you some questions if we can speak honestly.
Well, it sounds like it could have been any one of Bill Clinton's romantic conquests, but I think it's a song.
Correct. All right, 3-0. I'm getting a stuffing. All right,
You're
okay.
rubbish at this, Lib. It's because you read them out.
I'm hearing the song in my head.
What I like about it is usually when it comes to one that is a politician, Liam attempts to rap it as if that might convince you.
Okay, let me try. What was the good one? I had a good one that was
it's a brilliant bit of on-air plan.
Oh yeah, okay. In my youth in the Transky, I listened to the elders of my tribe telling stories of the old days. Amongst the tales they related to me were of wars fought by our ancestors in defence of the fatherlands. Their names: Dingain, Bambata, Hintsa, Mankana, Squinty, and Dasil. Were praised as the glory for the entire African nation. Quality radio here. Sorry.
Definitely a politician. Yeah. Probably Nelson Mandela. But.
Yes, correct. 4-0. Okay, that was an absolute pasting. End of the feature. Brilliant. Okay.
Oh, well, I'm so glad we bothered to do that. Right. Okay. Let's have another song. So this, I wasn't aware of this song actually. Did you know about this, Slim? This is "Dreamy Days" by Roots Maneuver. Is that right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this before. We had a little listen earlier. It sounds like quite an interesting track. So we'll have a listen. Then when we come back, we'll ask you what your reasons were for choosing it.
Sure.
Here we go. It's interesting. Talking about music, and we've chatted to different people and stuff. And we were talking like Philip Glover brought in sort of a load of CDs or whatever, and some people were saying, do you want me to bring in my iPod or whatever? And this kind of got us talking about the digital economy bill. And the idea that perhaps people downloading illegal will get their internet cut off, and it was kind of the bill was only passed through sort of quite late before Parliament closed before the election period. So what is your sort of take on the digital economy bill? Well,
I mean, the Lib Dems actually opposed it for the very reason that it was rushed through without any proper discussion about disconnections, without any assessment of what's going to happen, whether you're going to catch all sorts of innocent people, whether it's proportionate to the crime as well. And so certainly if we got into government, we'd want to repeal it and start again, because it's a complete mess. I myself am very worried about anything that would seemingly criminalise large parts of the young population for limited reason, without wanting to take away all sort of copyright. There is a purpose to it. It is important, and musicians and music companies do need to be able to make some money. But I think we were moving anyway towards a model where they could do that without having to have draconian recourse to this kind of powers.
One of the things we've been asking everyone really is if there was one thing that they could change about Bournemouth, one thing to do for the community, what would it be?
If you could only sort of choose one thing that you could change, what would your priority be?
I think it's the balance between housing and Greenbelt. I mean, this is a very, very populated area now, but it's got the balance quite badly wrong over the last 10, 15 years. There's been a lot of development, but it's not kind of family housing, which what people really need. It's often kind of poor quality flats or very expensive flats for people coming in from outside. And a lot of it's been built on kind of back gardens and things like that. So streets that were nice and leafy and suburban have gone into being quite urban quite rapidly. I think the balance is just completely out of kilter, and we need to look again about how we're going to build the family houses that are needed and where they're going to be put, but protecting those little bit of green spaces, Talbot Heath nearby, for instance, that still remain.
So would we, I suppose, presumably having to build in the more built-up areas already, it's more of it's literally a sort of a lack of space is that's restricting us.
I mean, it's because the problem here is geography, which is you're hemmed in by the sea on the south side, and then by Poole Harbour on one side and New Forest on the other. So, and there's a green belt behind. So clearly, there's not many places to go. But my feeling is that what space there is could be used better for affordable houses, not for putting up more flats, and that's what's been done wrong. And we need to get that right. And one of the things I'd like to do is get sort of power over planning a bit more back to local community now. People say, well, that means nothing will get built, sort of NIMBYism, not here, will take over. But that's not true, because, it's people's daughters and daughters' sons, grandchildren, who are the ones who can't get houses here. So I think that would ensure we get the balance a bit better.
So I suppose go back to the TV debates that were on. One of the issues in the first debate which came up, and there was a lot of heated talk on, was immigration. So, I mean, what are your concerns or thoughts on immigration, sort of as it stands, and how would you go about changing it?
I mean, anyone who's out campaigning at the moment knows that immigration is a hot issue. I mean, here in Bournemouth, it comes up probably, I wouldn't say the most, but the second most of any topic. The most still comes up is the behaviour MPs, especially the outgoing MP, comes up a lot on the doorstep. And, you know, I can fully understand people's concerns. I mean, we've had a massive wave of immigration in the last 10 years, and especially the last 5 years, which, to be fair to the government, I don't think they entirely anticipated. I don't think it was deliberate. But when they removed the barriers to East European workers, they only thought a few thousand were going to come. And in fact, we know that cumulatively they're about 1 million, albeit half of those have gone home again, have arrived, and this has brought an awful lot of change, and it has, you know, in pockets meant that some people have had trouble getting jobs, etc. Whilst overall, you know, I think it's good for the economy. It's caused problems. What needs to be done going forward is we need to reassure people that we've got a system that can manage this much, much better, which we haven't had to date. So we're in favour, number one, of getting exit checks back on our borders, which were actually removed by the Tories when they were in government in the 90s, and Labour never put them back in place. And you've got this crazy situation where we just don't know who's coming in and out of the country properly, and how can you monitor a migration system if that's the case? We also support things like a regional element to the policy. There's no doubt that there are areas of the country, the south most notably, which are pretty chock-a-block, and where at the moment with the recession there doesn't seem to be any call for extra labour, but there are other parts of the country, most likely Scotland, that's been suffering depopulation for a number of years and would quite like some new people coming in. So, you know, we say if Scotland wants that, there should be a system that allows them to have that, whilst the south can decide not to. And I think that's very important. And lastly, I should touch on it because it came up in the debate again this week, and last week I should say, and has been mentioned a number of times, which is the policy on illegal migrants. Now, this is a very, very difficult issue that I feel the other parties just aren't dealing with at all. There are about 750,000, no one quite knows, illegal migrants. They're here because of those lack of border checks, because it was too easy for them to disappear. And going forward, if you've got those checks back in place, you should be able to monitor people and make sure they're leaving the country when they should do. But what do you do about 750,000 people here already? I mean, no democracy has ever tried to expel that number of people. I mean, it would just be crazy to think about it. Hugely expensive, hugely disruptive. Whole communities would be up in arms. So what Liberal Democrats have said is that for a small number of people who've been here for 10 years or more, who have committed no crimes, who have integrated in the community, who speak English, there should be a mechanism where they can become legal. A one-off mechanism, not to be repeated, but to deal with this problem, and that would then free up resources to focus on those who've been here more recently or who are a threat. The alternative is to carry on burying our head in our sand and basically just let these people be in the shadows until they die, which seems to be the approach the other places. I should just add that it's a Liberal Democrat policy, but actually Boris Johnson, who's not known for being a great Liberal, supports an even greater amnesty. And in America, organisations like the FBI, which would hardly normally be regarded as Liberal organisations, support it for the very same reasons, because they just think it's a practical measure that we can take to get on top of it.
It's almost like a logical solution for a problem which it seems almost insolvable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're kind of drawn towards the end. We've only got a few minutes left, but thank you for coming in and speaking to us. First of all, and as we've asked all the candidates to do, kind of the floor is yours to for your last final kind of pitch, as it were. So tell people why they should vote for you on Thursday.
Well, first and foremost, I really want to just ask people to go and vote. I mean, we've been talking earlier in the programme about the number of new registrations, the number of young people who seem to got enthused. As a party, we've had a lot of people come and work for us. I'm sure the other parties have had a similar experience in recent weeks, and I think that's brilliant, but people do need to turn that into a vote, because it's a hugely important Parliament coming up. This Parliament not only has to sort of get over the problems of the last few years in restoring trust in politics, but it's got to grapple with the state of the economy, and decisions we're going to make about spending now are going to have a big impact on everybody's lives going forward, but especially those who are at university or about to go out into working life. I hope that if you've listened to me today, that you'll think that I could serve the community very well. I think that the Bournemouth University itself is crucial to this community. It's crucial to the future of the area, and that I would do my best to support Bournemouth University's activities, to work with students and work with the university authorities to make sure Bournemouth is the best it can be.